Um, I met another Negro bedwench. Um, she's kind of my friend, just somebody to talk to. She's not as stupid as she looks, quite frankly, but it's just that when it comes to race, we just kind of butt heads because the she's uh she's the token black girl, and she knows it. She knows that she isn't the blackest girl, even though of her dark skin and her name, which I'll get into in a minute. This will puzzle you. She when I first met her, she did told me that she does kind of see herself as a white girl, because of the way she carries herself, and basically where she lives is very what are those white neighborhoods that have a multicultural um, camaraderie with. And so basically, I met this girl named Egypt. I know, right? Like, how the fuck do you end up being a coon or a Negro bedwench with a name like Egypt? And I told her that too because I was like, how do you think and deny racism so quickly with a name like Egypt? I was telling her that you have like the blackest name possible. Like your name in its original context, Kemet, means black. And I was like, and not even just black, like the darkest form of black. Like, how can you be a coon with a name like Egypt? And she had the nerve to tell me that, oh, my name's Egypt Shannon, Sh- Shannon, I think. And she was trying to tell me that anybody can have my name. It's not a black thing. And I'm like, okay, knowing that you have like two first names, obviously that's a black thing. Plus, even Egypt by itself, nobody names their kid Egypt. Not even Arabs. I never met an Arab woman or child named Egypt. Um, all the Egypts I know are black. There's no Hispanic girls named Egypt. There's no white girls named Egypt. There's no Chinese girls named Egypt. So, it's a black name, trust me. And my problem with her is that she denies racism so much because she has so many white friends or non-black friends, and she identifies them. And she said the most stupidest thing to me last week. She told me that it was in response of like to racism, specifically with the actions and the things that happen um, towards Sandra Bland, Mike Brown, and Trayvon Martin. Was that she excuse me. In response to that, she was telling me that she calls white men white babies. She calls them her babies, and she was making a statement that, oh, my white babies will die for me. She was making this. This is what she said. Oh, my white babies, I would die for them just like they will die for me. And I'm like, what? Since when white men are busting their humps for the well-being of black women? Like, 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 where is this going on? Who are these white men that are near death, fighting for the justice or anything for not for white women, for black women? Like, even in IR dating, I don't see white men, jumping over hoops, jumping over the Ring of Fire, jumping over the Grand Canyon for black women. Stop. This is the problem with a lot of black women or black people in these multicultural communities, because they think they know that their friends see a black person, but they have this mentality and thinking that, oh well, if my friends can accept me even though I'm black, you know, they will do the same for any other black person because they don't see color and shit like that. And this is kind of like the problem, that we need a better black community so we won't have idiot coons like this. Because that was literally the dumbest statement I ever heard. You calling white men your babies? These white men ain't fighting for you. These white men don't give a damn about you. You know, you might find one or a couple white boys that like you, but they ain't. But black, well, not black men. I'm not, white men as a whole are not fighting for black women's rights. They're not fighting to protect black women. So, you know, hush with this mentality that, this, that just because you live in this multicultural community, other races of men will put their women behind for you or for other black women. This is the most delusional shit that I ever heard in my life. And it's the sad thing is that she has such a blessed name, and she ends up being a goddamn Negro bed wench. And I almost told her about my page. I actually did, but luckily I don't want her to see it anymore because I know she'll get mad at me if I, made a video about her, and I'm making a video about her anyway. So, it's just best to keep it on the hush and hush. She don't need to know about this. But this is very sad and pathetic that we have delusional black people. But this is what happened with integration. We've got the mentality flipped to where we are believing that white people were running to the black community or running to black people to be integrated or multicultural or cultural appreciated, when it's really the flip side, to where it was black people running to white neighborhoods, trying to, be everything other than black. I that's the thing, with a lot of kids growing up nowadays, because they're just so out of touch with racism and politics in general. And a lot of these young cats, especially the females, just don't give a damn about anything. They can, these young black girls, can watch the news and see a black woman get shot by the police, and they're kind of like, well, as long as it's not me, I'm okay. And I just had a conversation with Egypt a couple hours ago where we were talking about this, the same things about racism. I was trying to, a couple of weeks ago, well, last week, she called me a racist, and I was trying to get her to explain what did she mean by that. And I talked to her, and I realized she wasn't as dumb as I thought. She's aware that there is a system of white supremacy. Okay, she's doing okay. So she's aware, okay? She's aware that there's a system of white supremacy. She's aware that, there are people who will not change their views no matter what. And then she went off to tell me about this story of, she had a friend whose uncle was a racist, and when she met him, he was like the nicest guy in the world. And I was like, okay. A lot of white supremacists do that with amongst black women. So that's nothing new to me. I've seen that trick before on television. There's a show. It's kind of off the air right now, but it was a show called, I forgot. It was on TLC. Something about mail order brides, and there was this mulatto South African woman and her father-in-law. She married a white guy, and her father-in-law was a racist, and he was bad mouthing her about her people, about Africans, shit like that. And then at the night after the wedding, Her family met his family, and the dude just ended up being like the nicest person overnight. It didn't even make any sense because he's been on like all the episodes he's been featured. He, his white supremacy wasn't afraid to pop out. All of a sudden, his white supremacy went MIA. Go figure. But it was just temporary. He was just doing it just to do it because he went back to his old roots. I think eventually later on. So a lot of these white supremacist males, they do that, when convenient, because they know that you're gonna eat it up and you're gonna be dumb enough to believe that, oh, he changed overnight. So don't be fooled by these tactics. Um, but like I was saying, when talking to her, me and her, we were talking about white supremacy, and she acknowledged it. And she was telling me, I was trying to tell her about, there's ways that we can fight white supremacy. I was telling her about, black people having their own businesses. But before that, when we was talking about white supremacy, she was talking about how, she doesn't really care or worry about about racist whites because, you know, she just worries about her. She has this kind of selfish teen mentality to where it's like, I'm just worrying about me, nothing but me, just me. And I just don't worry about things like that. I block it off. It's that whole denial shit that I can't stand. With black women, even in general, a lot of black women tend to block out negativity from the world, or just they block out the news. That's why black women don't watch the news mostly, because they just can't take. They're like a child. They really are like a child because they cannot look at things that aren't positive. They can't absorb or accept the reality of white supremacy. They can't absorb knowing that, hey, people are losing their jobs, or terrorist attacks, or you know racist politicians saying this and that. They can't take the negativity. So they that's why a lot of these black women and young black girls don't watch the news, because they just want to see rainbows and unicorns jumping over fences and shit. And this is why it's so hard talking to black women about racism. But anyways, as I was talking to her, she was just talking about how she ignores everything, she blocks the negativity out, and I'm like, that can't. And I asked her, can that be applied to Nazi Germany? And she said no. And I'm like, exactly. So how are you gonna block off? What's the good of blocking off negativity or blocking it off your mind? It's gonna affect you one way or the other. So just stop being in denial. But we didn't talk too long after that. We're still cool, but I'm just glad that she's not dumb. Like that's kind of like the good thing about it. She's aware of the system of white supremacy. It's just the fact that she's just too afraid to even think about it. That's the issue. She's just too afraid to think about it. And I don't think she'll get out of that mentality. She has too many white friends. She's just kind of lost in this multicultural community, and she's not gonna wake up. And I really don't need her to wake up, or hell, I don't even want her to wake up, because she's just no good. Somebody that damaged and that stupid, they're a lost cause. And this is why I don't waste time trying to get people on my level. If you ain't on my level by now, at the age of 22, you're dead. How are you an adult and you don't know nothing about racism? You know nothing about white supremacy. By that age, you're basically just the Walking Dead. You're just a zombie. So That's why I don't waste time. I'm not like these conscious preachers, yelling at folks talking about they need to wake up or they need to follow this man or follow God or Allah or whatever. I'm not like those dudes. If you ain't on the program by now, you will never be on the program. And that's just how it is.